Good afternoon to everybody. My name is David Coste, of course. I am managing director of the consultancy firm Mission Tourism. My company is based in Sète, near Montpellier, in the south of France. I am also partner of Open Tourism Lab. I found Mission Tourism 15 years ago. It's a company specialized in supporting tourism destination and businesses. And my professional background spans both tourism office and hospitality establishment with a strong focus on what we call in France, this slide, social tourism. We speak about inclusive tourism. A more contemporary and less stigmatizing term would be maybe caring tourism. This is a word, sustainable and inclusive tourism. This is both one in one. In the establishment I have managed, I implement several quality labels, including tourism and handicap. Maybe you know this label. This is a national recognizing certification in France designed to identify accessible tourism service such as restaurant, accommodation, museum, and more. When I launched my consulting activity in 2010, building on an extensive expertise in accessibility standards, covering the built environment, services, and the reception of people with specific needs, I naturally focus on supporting tourism businesses and destinations in improving accessibility. My conviction has always been that tourism for all is an integral part of sustainable tourism and the overall customer journey. By my experience, I quickly began supporting proactive and committed territories in making their destinations more accessible across several French regions and departments, this including Rhône-Alpes region. This is, for example, Lyon, the city of Lyon, through its tourism and adapted leisure territorial contract, and the Occitanie region. This is where I live, near Montpellier, and I work particularly for Hérault department and its tourism development agencies. Its name is Hérault Tourism, with I have been collaborating for over 15 years on this topic, as well as other municipalities, of course, in southern France. It's also in 2010 that in French, a state creates the label Destination for All, which certifies cities and territories that have achieved a high level of accessibility according to ambitious specification. Together with Hérault Tourism and his accessibility officer, this is Claude Blaou-Pensé, I had the pleasure of successfully supporting several destinations in obtaining this certification. This project requires development of innovative technology, including experimental facilitation with professionals and stakeholders around the shared objective of technical compliance, covering public spaces, the built environment, signage, transport, and of course, communication. This approach also leads us to develop technological tools to improve access to information, such as mobile apps, Hérault Mobility, that I created 10 years ago, and soon to be released in version 3. I will speak about later. This application aggregates accessibility public spaces and data, accessible tourism offers, and GPS navigation for ensuring safe routes for people with reduced mobility along identified accessibility pathway. This is always not the road, but the pathway. Before going further, maybe I can speak about some words for those who are less familiar with accessibility and data. Maybe we speak usually about a mobility chain. This is a continuity of accessible movement from the point to another. This is a walkability. In French, we speak very much about this word. In the cities, this is a pedestrian friendliness of an urban environment, on the geographic information system, the tourism information system, the point of interest, of course, and this is RG2A, this is a general framework for digital accessibility compliance, and maybe a new standard we use in France, this is a niche standard. This is a new regulatory framework for collecting accessibility data in public spaces. During my several missions, I identify several recurring challenges. Maybe it's a good one. Yes, I will show you maybe some information. Sorry. This is the data. We speak about data. We take in the system information into the geographic information system. And maybe this is a new website in France, accessible.gov. We can find on this website many information about offers in the city, restaurant, activity, and more. And this is what we speak about the mobility chain. This is another picture than we see later. When we can see signage, all the product with hostel, service, maybe transport, everything, and for all kind of people. And now I can speak about the several challenge I can find during my support mission. There is many times limited awareness of accessibility tourism offering. Of course, fragmented informations across multiple databases, complex regulatory frameworks, especially in existing environments, potential conflict between accessibility, safety, and urban planning regulations. When we manage accessibility using a cross-cutting approach, I think this is really the best way to have success. Higher cost when accessibility is not integrated from the outset, disruption in the mobility chain, and sufficient involvement of disability individuals, and a strong need for guidance in implementing accessibility strategy. And two major conclusions for this first time. The most important one is the need of a strong political commitment to ensure success. And of course, accessibility progresses faster when it's managed by the tourism officer. For me, maybe there is a question. No, okay, so I think there is maybe a question in text. On the left, you can see a picture. This is the governance of when we work for territories. We are preparing architecture of governance, and this is the first time. The first thing you have to do is to establish this governance. You have to secure the commitment with an elected official, for example, mayor or deputy mayor. For me, this is the keystone of success. Second one, to ensure legitimate leadership. If you have a clearly identified project manager, he must work closely with elected officials and have a full legitimacy. This is the best way. The third is to adopt a project-based approach, set up with steering and technical committees, action plan, communication processes, and administrative management. Ensure transversal action. You have to mobilize all the actors, for example, culture, sport, transport, public works, social service, commerce, and associations. You have, of course, to engage the tourism office because the tourism professional must act as facilitators between institutions and businesses. And for me, it's really accelerating the implementation of the method. You have to go with a work on the ground, with field engagement, meeting, individual support, and workshop. For me, is really essential. The seventh one is to mobilize professional networks. You engage hotel associations, business federation, chamber of commerce, and construction federations, for examples. To go further, you have to involve the disability sector. You have to collaborate with the local accessibility commissions, with disability organizations and medico-social institutions. To have appoint a local celebrate to promote the initiative. If you know someone, a visible figure, it can help you to embody, promote the initiative. You have to target both tourists and residents. You have not only to speak about tourists because the accessibility benefits are not only for visitors, but also for local population, for seniors and caregivers, for example. And you have to conduct a big inventory of existing assets to identify and leverage existing initiative on the destination. And most important maybe is to start with exemplary public facilities, because the public institutions must lead by example. It's very important. Another point is to ensure overall coherence for the urban spaces and avoid fragmented actions, ensure continuity and consistency. Another point is to standardize accessibility across all disabilities. And you address for the four main types of disabilities simultaneously. Is very important. Sorry. Maybe three or four other points for me is to develop a practical toolkit. It can include it, for example, guidelines, regulatory reference, and technical resource. You have to support businesses technically and financially to provide incentive, subsidies, or collective purchasing solutions. And of course, to enhance data collection, communicate effectively with a website RG2A, with publication and target offers, and while ensuring reliability of information. On the left, you can see, for example, when we give a toolkit, it is all the type of document files and information that we can give to the destination when they want to work about these topics. The final recommendation for this first part is to plan more time than you expect. When you start, you think it can be easier to implement this idea on the territory, but in reality, maybe you know the law of Hofstadter. It means that it's always longer than you can expect, really. The second one recommendation is to set realistic targets. The accessibility project can quickly become complex and costly, of course. And the third one is to surround yourself with expertise, of course. You can engage specialized consultancy firms to ensure your success. This is, for example, this picture. This is aeromobility, the maps we have created. Maybe later you can visit the website. This is accessiblebeta.gouv. This is a website created by the state of France. And you can see we set I will give you some information about aeromobility because this is also through my work of improving the accessibility of destination. I quickly identified the absence of comprehensive solutions capable to ensuring a seamless mobility chain. In other words, continuous barrier-free journey for me is particularly for wheelchair user, of course. Such A solution it needs to take into account the accessibility level of public spaces and pathway, while also enabling clear orientation and navigation, combined with reliable information of accessible tourism offering. I practice sport, and as a sport enthusiast, I naturally drew a parallel with the concept of roadbook, which seems to be the missing tools to provide people with disabilities with an embedded structure guidance solutions. However, a paper-based roadbook becomes obsolete almost immediately, of course. This is why I propose to Aerotourism to support the research and the development of a mobile application of apps capable to delivering this service. And the solution is called Aero Mobility, as you have on the screen. Now, this is the third version. It has evolved into a responsive website compliant with RG2A accessibility standard. And we are currently working now on a new version with in-house design and improved user experience. For the next version, we will offer a new pedestrian GPS system, prioritizing accessible pavement, a data integration from tourism information system, open data source, and more recently, integration, of course, of the accessible.gov I present you. Accessibility levels for both for public pathways and the built environment are categorized using color code systems generated through criteria. You can see it on the picture. You have the green is the road is fully accessible. Orange is if it is partially accessible or accessible with assistance. In red, this is not at all accessible. And this is the same for the building and the same for the road. For me, that's all. My presentation is off.